Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar entitled The Practice of Good Sample Labeling. My name is Kathy, and I am a Customer Engagement Specialist here at Test Oil. I've been with the company going on about 8 years now. Before I was a Customer Engagement Specialist, I started out in the lab as a technician, and from there I moved into the inbound sample team where we would intake the day's samples. So I have had firsthand experience with sorting through some of the good, the bad, and the extremely ugly samples we've received. Okay, before we get started, there are a few things I would like to go over. First, everybody is muted. We are recording today's presentation, and by being on mute, it will ensure a high-quality recording. Second, please feel free to use the question box in the GoToWebinar application. We would be happy to answer any questions that you have. Finally, the webinar recording will be distributed later today along with a survey. Look for that in the email you registered with. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so I'm here today to go over the basics on how to access your labels and to help you achieve tools on great label practices. I will also touch base on how to order your supplies and add equipment on the data site. Okay, so one of the main reasons for this webinar is, as you can see, this is a picture of some of the samples we receive. Every day we receive hundreds of samples that are delayed for testing due to labeling or bottle issues. In many cases, the samples never make it into the lab because we can't reach the customer for clarification on unclear samples. And sometimes purchase orders or credit card information can also hold up your samples. The samples that come in with good or pre-printed labels are immediately processed into the lab for testing with no delay. So in the next couple of slides, I'm going to show you some of the reasons why your samples may be delayed because of bottle or label issues. Like this example shown here. Marker was used to identify the samples. This is highly, not recommended. As you can see, the markers easily smear and rub off the sample bottles and lids, making it impossible to identify your samples. Okay, and many of the samples that are sent in that are not in our designated bottles, they break or leak the oil before we even receive them. These are some examples of bottles that are not an ideal to use. I mean, you wouldn't believe if I told you some of the things that have been used to send samples in. Just when I think I've seen everything, something new comes in. Just yesterday, we received some samples in vinegar bottles. Okay, as you can see from this slide, a lot of the information is missing. You will most likely be receiving a phone call on any of these samples, needing additional information or a resample due to lost fluid before we can get these into the lab. I mean, as you can see here, there's no, lubrication information. And on this one, there's just no information at all. And you wouldn't believe how many times we see this come in. We often also receive oil samples that we cannot test due to the wrong amount of sample being sent in. I will touch base a little later in the presentation on the sample volume. But here, these four shown here are our most common bottles that we use for, our oil testing. Okay, next I'd like to talk about correctly labeling your samples to ensure immediate processing once they're received. Of course, pre-printed labels would be our first recommended choice. Okay, so we recommend using our pre-printed labels, but we understand that some circumstances come up where you have to create a label. Maybe you're sending in, a first-time sample or a brand new sample that, we don't have a label for. You can clearly see the difference between the two samples. So, we would encourage you to, put your company name, your company number if you know it, the machine name, equipment ID if it has one, and most of all, very important, always be sure to include your lubrication information. So here's an example of one of our pre-printed labels. As you can see, it already has all the information it needs to be processed immediately into the lab. You know, it has your customer name, you know, the area or plant it's from, the machine name, the test that it was going to be getting. It has your lube oil type. So in here, this is your customer number, the area or plant, and then this is the machine identifier number. And then it has right here, you know, comments if you wanted to write like any additional information that you would like on your report, you can put here in the comments area, and of course your sample date. Okay, so there's a couple different resources you can use to, you know, obtain your labels. You can always feel free to give us a call anytime. We do have a monthly mailing program that you can enroll in where you will receive your labels monthly automatically in the mail, or you can always, you know, go on to testoil.com for your labels. And if you would choose to, you know, do the testoil.com, you can log in here, you know, just go to testoil.com and you will find the data site login right here at the, you know, the top corner. So when you get to the login page, usually your username is your account number and a password that was assigned to you when your account was set up. You should have received that information in your welcome email after registration. If you don't have that, you know, your information, feel free to give us a call or email us for that information, and we can always get that right to you. Okay, so after you successfully logged in, this is the home page. And here you'll see our main dashboard, which has various tools to help you manage your program. These tools will be explained more in depth in the following webinar coming up titled Data Site Basics on August 23rd. We will be sending out the invitations next week if you are interested, so be on the lookout for those. Okay, so once on the home page, you can access your labels from the drop-down column under the Program Management. And you'll see here where it says Sample Labels. You want to go ahead and click on that Sample Labels. And then this is the screen you'll be taken to. From here, you can choose which labels or what plant you would like to print your labels for. You can narrow your search to a specific plant, or you can do an all-plant search. The arrow down button here will display all the plants or areas that you have set up in your specific account. So you can select one or you can select multiple, whichever you may need at the time. Okay, you also have the option to do a refined search by machine name, ID, or specific machine number. So if you just need one machine, or you know the ID or the machine number, you can always search that way. You may also do a search for machines that are scheduled for specific months. For example, if you only want the labels for machines that are scheduled for testing in August, you can generate only August labels. So once your label selection is complete using whichever method you choose, you would go ahead then and you would want to click on this green search button. And here it will display, if you do an all search, it will display all of the machines and they will all be checked. So you do not have to print all those. If you only, you want to start fresh, you could go ahead and unclick this here, and it will clear all the fields. So here you can, pick and choose if you only need a couple machines. So after you went ahead and made your selection for the labels that you need, you want to go up here to your View Print Labels. And once you click that, it will display your labels. Now, I would suggest when you print your labels that you want to go ahead and you want to use this little print icon right here, because it will put them in the correct formatting. So after you hit that, your little print box will show up. Now this is my print box. Yours, may look different because you may probably have a different printer or the brand, or I'm sure it's probably going to look different. But then you want to go ahead and print your labels, and that's all there is to it, printing labels. So now I'm going to take a minute to touch base on adding equipment. So let's say maybe you want to add equipment before you print your new labels. So once again, underneath your program management, you'll find in the drop-down where to add new equipment. So you just go ahead and click on your new equipment or add equipment. And this is the screen you'll see. So here you can add just a couple pieces of equipment, or you can do a bulk add by using our attached spreadsheet. But if you're going to go ahead and add equipment, I highly recommend filling in as much information as possible, even though only these areas with the red asterisks are required. Okay, so if you do choose to do a bulk, or you can use our spreadsheet just to add a couple pieces of equipment, that's fine too, whichever you prefer. If you prefer to use the spreadsheet, you would just want to go ahead and click on this area, and it'll bring up the spreadsheet for you. And then it'll even give you our email here where to email it back to us. So you can see again, it'll give you, your machine name, your equipment ID, the model if you have it, if you know it, or if it applies, the machine manufacturer. And like I said, most importantly, you always want to try to add that lubrication, and then test package. And that's all there is to adding new equipment. Okay, if you still are, maybe uncomfortable with pre-printing your own labels, then you can always feel free to go ahead and you can go onto our website and order your supplies or your pre-printed labels right here under supplies. And then here you will see the supply page. So you can choose the plant location which you wish to order for, and the shipping information will automatically fill in for you. So if you're ordering bottles and you're still unsure maybe of what size bottles you need, or you're not quite sure, there's this little quick handy what size bottle do I need. You can just click right on that. It'll take you here to this page, and you can see here it tells you all, like, your routine testing is a 4-ounce bottle, your varnish is 16 ounce, your EHC, your annual turbine 64-ounce bottle. Or if you're doing individual tests like a debulkability or flashpoint, your RVOT, your foam, it tells you exactly how much fluid you need and what size bottles. And here's just a better look at the bottles. The routine 4-ounce bottle, the 8-ounce bottle, 16 and 64, and all these are available on our supplies, on our supplies page to order from. Okay, so after you've ordered your needed supplies, you can leave special instructions. Like all peat bottles, we suggest using the peat bottles for if you have like compressors or your samples that break the bottles, or if you say you only need labels for like the month of September, you can leave special instructions right here. And then after that, you would go ahead and hit your confirm order, and it'll review your order for you and make sure you have everything and your shipping to address is correct. And then you'd submit your order, and then you get your confirmation. So in conclusion, using the correct bottles, sending in the proper amount of sample, and a good label will result in a fast turnaround time and an accurate report. So thank you so much for joining me, and I want to thank you for tuning in. If you still have any questions, or feel free to contact me. So have a wonderful day, and thank you again.